the IIF function. What it does is it's like an if statement that's going inline a boolean version of the case statement. So it returns one of two values depending on whether the boolean expression is true or false. Okay, if you've ever seen IIF in Excel or VB or other Microsoft languages, it's very similar. The first parameter is a boolean expression. Here it's revenue and average revenue. And the second parameter is the result that is displayed if it's true. The third parameter is the result that's displayed if it's false. One of the questions that always comes up is, what does IIF stand for? Is it immediate if, inline if and only if? Go check the Microsoft documentation. I've been asked this. I've probably Googled on it 15 times since I first did a presentation on this. They don't say. It's just the IIF function. You can call it IIF or inline if or immediate if or whatever, but Microsoft doesn't say anywhere what it really means from what I can tell. Some details on this are the performance is very similar between IIF and case, if not exactly the same as if you did a single case statement with two options like that. It simplifies the code, and I think it leads to cleaner code. However, on the alternative to clean code, you can nest it up to 10 levels deep. I would argue that if you're really going to nest the inline if or the IIF function 10 levels deep, maybe you shouldn't be using that function. Maybe you should be using a case statement or something else in that case. And then another interesting thing about it, the true and the false values, or parameter 2 and parameter 3, cannot both be null. But think about that. I mean, if I'm saying if some Boolean variable, then null, otherwise null, why say if? Because either way it's going to be null. Why not just put the word null in there and forget IIF at that point, and you've got the right answer. Let's take a look at using it at this point. So I like it a lot, and it's one of those ways to just really simplify things. So we'll use the query training database. Similar query to what we looked at before, but instead of a case statement, I'm going to put in a single line here called IIF, and I'm going to say evaluate revenue greater than average revenue. If it's true, display better. If it's false, display not better. And overall, let's see, run that. We get the same results we did before. Scroll back up to the case up here, and I would argue at this point that the IIF is cleaner code than using the case statement if you're on SQL Server 2012 or newer. You don't have to use it in a query with tables. You can put fixed hard-coded values. So if 3 equals 2, then return true. Otherwise, return null. Let's see what that does. How often does 3 equal 2? True would never be returned in this case. So what it's doing when we run it is it's returning null. Now here's an example. If 1 equals 7, which we know will never happen, is it going to return null or is it going to return null? Here's the interesting message. At least one of the result expressions in a case statement or in a case specification must be an expression other than null. Do you think that IIF is just simply a wrapper around the case statement that Microsoft put together? Perhaps. Either way, it does simplify things a little bit you want to use.